Some businesses succeed, some don't. Then there are those that seem to have been around forever. The true entrepreneurial success story. How did they do it? What was their vision? What makes a success? In this special episode for Eye on Annapolis, we speak with the true success stories, those business owners that have been around for decades, learn from their successes and failures. Now, here's host John Fernay.
I'm sitting at a table that's like maybe 2 feet tall with a chair that's about 1.5 feet tall. And I haven't been in this building in 20 plus years, but I'm down here at Weems Creek Nursery School at the very end of Kirkley Road in West Annapolis. I'm sitting here with Mary Ostrowski, who is the owner of Weems Creek Nursery School. And thank you for inviting me here. This is like bringing me back flashbacks in a good way.
Well, John, it's really nice to have you, and thanks also for thinking of Weems for your show.
Well, what we're doing is we're talking about businesses and organizations and entities, if you will, that have become part of the fabric of the community, that have been in the community for, I would like to say forever, but I know Weems Creek hasn't been here forever. But
pretty close.
When you run into somebody, it could be like me 20 years later saying, hey, is that little tiny nursery school I can't remember what it was back on that creek, back Weems Creek? Yeah, is it still there? And that's the type of people that we want to talk with to find out what it is, what the history was, where you came from, and how we got where we are today. So, but first of all, thank you very much I know you're not the original owner, you're not the founder of this, because the school is much older than probably both of us.
It's a little bit older, yeah. It's a little bit older than me.
But it is such a great little resource here in West Annapolis, and my 2 children went here because the third one was too young to go here at that point.
Okay.
And it was just a wonderful experience to get them prepared for school. And it's still going strong today.
Yeah.
Where did it start?
Yeah, it's true. It has been around since 1972, this school. So we are approaching 50 years within the next couple of years.
You just made me very depressed. I'm born in 61, so you're saying the school is born in a different decade and it's approaching 50 years. Okay, thanks very much for that.
All right, well, no problem. I'm sorry to make you feel aged. You're not in the least bit. But I say that because for me, one of the neatest things about coming into the Weems Creek community is the people like you that I meet on a regular basis who tell me, oh, my kids went to Weems, or, oh, I went to Weems. And, I went to high school in Annapolis, and my family has been here for over 20 years, and I never learned about Weems until my younger brother's kids were going here just a few years ago. And so it really is, we kind of joke that it's one of the best kept secrets of Annapolis, because you either know about it or you don't. But I am increasingly meeting so many people who not only know it, but have a personal connection. And it's a joy, and it's one of our hopes is just to keep bringing those people together and highlighting, oh, wow, that's cool. Do you know so-and-so? And slowly starting to reconnect people from the greater Weems Creek community.
Well, it's funny. That's how we sort of found out about it, too, way back in those days. We had our son, who's my oldest son now, who's 28, was enrolled in I'll say a daycare / preschool type of a program in town. And there was, even way back then, there was a problem with bullying that they didn't really want to address. Mm-hmm. And we talked to some friends, and immediately they, oh, you got to check out Miss Tate and Missy Tate down at Weems Creek.
Yes.
And we're like, where the hell's we're just brand new to the area. Where the hell's Weems Creek, and how do we, so we went down, fell in love with the school, and enrolled our son the following fall. So it was it worked out really well. Mm-hmm. And I know now, did Missy Tate, who was the former owner, she
was the founding
founding
owner. Yes, and when she passed away, I don't know exactly the time frame. Right. Her daughter Maggie Tate Reith took over the school, and she carried on the legacy for 12, 15 years before she decided it was time to go a different path personally, and that's when I met her.
What possessed you to buy a preschool and kindergarten?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I had no intention of buying a preschool. It was perfect timing. You know, it was just one of those things where I was at the point of knowing it was time to move on from my previous job, and I knew I wanted to stay in the education field but do something slightly different. And my younger brother, who's part of Annapolis, said, you might be interested in talking to Maggie. His kids have been here at the school. And so he introduced us, and, you know, it was kind of a conversation that happened over the course of a couple of years as she was making the decision to sell and I was in transition. And so I was intrigued, but it was the day that I came and actually spent a day just talking with the teachers and seeing what happens. And there is a palpable magic that you feel when you walk into this building and, you know, interact with the teachers and see what they do with the children. It's classic preschool here, and the feeling I just fell in love with.
Well, it's funny you say that there's this magic in this building and it's classic preschool. And as I look around here, the building is not a big fancy building. Mm-hmm. It's not big and it's not fancy. It's
right.
It's small and very basic. And as I look around in this classroom, this is the markings of my preschool, going way back when, back in the 60s. It's not all filled with the tech and stuff that you see. And this is really giving, I think this is something that's probably missing in a lot of the education that kids get as they move on through the system. I mean, I know my one kid had said to me, the stamp goes in the upper right corner of an envelope, right? I mean, it's just the basic stuff. And it's funny, when I walked in here, I noticed that you had phone numbers on all the mats on the floor, and you said, well, we're learning the phone numbers. Well, as an adult, I have no idea what your phone number is. I mean, I just look under the O's and there you are, you magically come up.
That's
but
right.
For somebody that's 4 or 5 or 6, this is, that's an important thing. That's an important life lesson to have. To be able to sit there, and I'm reading the rules of the school here. It says, make music, play nice, have an adventure, and dream big. And clean up after yourself. So, yeah. And those are great. Those are great school rules, but they're also great life rules too. And I think it's you're right. There's a magic in here. My kids still, 2/3 of them still remember this and still talk about Mrs. Medeiros, who was a teacher that was way back when. Yeah. They attended summer camp here, or the camp session afterwards. It's something that, as you found out moving through town, you find people that have a connection to the school, and I've never run across anyone that says, "Oh yeah, it didn't work out well for us," and everybody does love it.
Everybody does love it. It was a bit daunting at first to be the first non-family member to take over this school, because the reputation for what it is so strong and rooted in really great values that it was very important to me to maintain the traditions and the general feel of what Weems Creek has always been. And so I really spent quite a bit of time the first year just talking with people and looking for ways to make sure that we're modern, but that we very much are respecting what makes this school and what has made this school such a consistent, strong preschool for over 45 years. And in fact, I'll tell you, I was just talking with a parent the other day who said, I'm new to the area and I've been looking at preschools, and some of my neighbors said, well, Weems Creek is wonderful. It has such a good feel. It's a little traditional. And she said, that almost sounded like a negative. How do you respond to that? And I said, honestly, I think the fact that we are traditional and rooted in traditions is part of what makes this school so special. We pay attention to what's happening in kindergarten so that we're working backwards and ensuring that our children are ready for kindergarten. But we really focus on the basic fundamental skills that preschoolers need for life and for learning. And in many instances, those haven't changed over the last couple of generations. There's just some basic skills and learning that we all need, and I think Weems Creek has kind of perfected that. So that's what we really try to be consistent with.
I know a lot of times when businesses transition into a different ownership, and certainly I imagine it's even more so with a change of family type owned business. But was it difficult for you to come in as the outsider? I mean, we went from a 4-letter last name, Tate, to a really long last name, Ostrowski.
Yes, that's right, much longer.
So the business cards had to be changed, the whole 9 yards. But was it difficult for you to come into this?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I was just trying to be very cognizant of listening and paying attention to what has been at the school for years and has worked so well that people like about it. We have parents now who went here as children themselves, and many will say, "Oh my gosh, I remember doing this activity myself," and that's a plus. People like that. So that part I was aware of. I really wanted to make sure that I was doing the overall legacy that Missy started, doing that well. On the other hand, I've been in education in various roles for 20 years, and so I'm confident in what I'm doing and what I'm able to bring to the table, and comfortable with that. So in that sense, it was a natural fit for me.
Right. Well, I mean, I visually looking through here, I don't see a whole lot of change from what it was way back when. I imagine that there's probably some procedural and processes that have changed over the years. I do believe we had handwritten invoices for tuition and whatnot, which I'm guessing
we're automated now. Yeah, that's true.
has gone the wayside. But who is Weems Creek for today? Who is the student that's coming in today, the learner?
That's an interesting question, and I think to answer that question, I have to talk more maybe about the family than the learner in particular. That is one thing that we believe strongly. We're not just inviting children to our school, we're inviting families into our school community. And so I think that we are a niche for families who are looking to start introducing their children to a school setting. They're looking for a little bit of that structured socialization for their children, but they still have the gift of time, and they like the stepping stone that we are. They like that we are, half-day programs, and that as a 2-year-old, you start just coming 2 days a week, and then you graduate to 3 days a week, and then finally in preschool, it's 5 days a week. And that's important. That's an important aspect for the families, that it's a slower introduction and stepping stone, because kids are in school then for a long, long time afterwards. So they're kind of easing into it a little bit.
Well, that makes sense. And it's funny you talk about the different families that you need to know. And I remember that our family, and I say our family, that would be the Weems Creek family, and the class that we graduated out of was very tight, and we still see each other occasionally. I know the kids are still tight. I mean, I can still rattle off 5 kids that my son palled around with, and still does to a degree, that all were here in the pre-K, which was fantastic. Please tell me that you, as the new owner, didn't come in and mess this up. Maypole thing still going on?
The Maypole thing is still going on.
Okay.
Mrs. Anderson has been teaching preschool now for I actually don't know exactly how many years, because she's been in different. That
might be indiscreet to say that.
In different roles. She hasn't always taught preschool, but she has for the last several years, and she does the Maypole fantastically.
That was always a big treat. That was a big event out front with the with everything there.
It still happens.
But what else? Okay, so we've got a 2-day-a-week program. It's half day. We've got a wonderful, caring staff.
We do.
What are there any requirements for kids to come in here? I mean, the potty train thing, is that?
We have. For as much as we've strived to be consistent, there are a few changes that have happened over the last couple of years. And so our Tuesday, Thursday class, most of the children are starting as 2-year-olds. So they're not necessarily potty trained, no. And we work hard to partner with parents to help move them along throughout the course of the year. But and by the by the 3-day-a-week program, they should be potty trained, and most are, which is great. But, we have a few things just in general that are changing in the world. Kindergarten is now pretty much just a part of elementary school. It is a full day program. So we haven't been offering the half day kindergarten here over the last couple of years, simply because the demand for it isn't there. Okay. People are looking to go into elementary school and start their kindergarten experience
it's so funny, the transition. There. It depends. It doesn't matter where you're going, but the transition is very important, and I agree. I mean, to sit there all of a sudden go from a half day, okay, well, it's nap time, middle of the morning, and at noon, mom or dad comes and picks me up, or get on the bus, or whatever it may be. So all of a sudden, boom, go into it. I know as my kids went through their education, going from middle school to high school, I didn't think the middle school grades really prepared them as well. Because, it was like, okay, so we ramp up. It seemed like the ramp stopped a little bit short of where it needed to be for the high school thing. And then it was like, it's starting to get real now. Yeah. So they had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I think transitions are smart, and I think that probably makes a lot of sense to go to a full day thing. Certainly I think the dynamic of the family has changed. There's probably fewer stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads that can afford to do that. There's probably some work-at-home mom and dads that do that. But it's, what do they call it? They used to dinks, that's no kids. Dual income with kids. There was an acronym or something like that where both parents are working.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic just in our educational system now. And so, without the demand for the half-day kindergarten, the same way we've really focused on just perfecting the 2, 3, and 4-year-old program. But to your point of helping with the transition, one of the other things that we have offered newly over the last couple of years, primarily for our preschool students, is the option of an extended day STEAM program. So for those parents who think, okay, my children are ready for a little bit of a longer day, they can make the choice 3 days a week to have their children stay until 2:15 and do an additional STEAM program. But it's optional, so you can, if you're comfortable and you want to just do the half day, 5 days a week as a preschooler, and next year in kindergarten will be your first full day experience, no problem. But if you want a little bit of that stepping stone, we do have the 3 day a week extended afternoon, which is nice.
Outside of the education in the school, what else do we have? I know that in the summer you used to have a summer camp.
We still do.
And do you do something for parents that are, on spring breaks, or, do you have camps throughout the year, or is it just the summer? Or
we don't have camps throughout the year. We have additionally started adding some extended day programs. So 1 day a week, we'll have 6-week sessions throughout the school year where children can stay for an additional hour and a half. They have lunch here, maybe a little bit of recess, and then they might do a music class once a week for 6 weeks, or they might do a balance bike class once a week for 6 weeks, or right now we have a Spanish class going on. And so there's a couple of those options throughout the school year.
Did you say Spanish class?
Yes.
Are we teaching Spanish to kids this young?
If parents are interested in it.
Really? That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exposure.
Totally was not an option when I was...
Yeah, exposure just to a second language. It's not about the mastery, like most things at preschool aren't necessarily mastery. It's the exposure and the experiences and getting those brain cells to start firing.
I guess to recognize it. Then they jump into first grade and that's Spanish. He's speaking Spanish. I don't maybe not understand him entirely, but I can pick a few words. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. That's a new offering this year and has been very well received.
Right.
Yeah.
I know last summer you guys had, and it was the first time I ever caught wind of it, but you had a party, a luau.
Yeah, we did.
And it was sort of like an alumni reunion. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. But Are you guys working with your alumni and trying to...
We've got two cool things happening. One is that we have a wonderful parent volunteer group that has formed to support the school, and just a group of go-getters who are committed to helping us maintain what we have and grow and offer cool things, not just for the children, but also for the families. And so they helped sponsor that particular fundraising event, yes. And part of our goal with that is, as I said to you, this is a place not just for children, but we really try to make it a place for families. So offering experiences for parents to come together and socialize. And we have been working to reach out to the greater community and bring people back into the fold who have a history with the school.
Nice.
And so, yes, this is an event that will happen each year and is open to previous Weems families. We do have a Facebook alumni group where people can join and start reconnecting and letting us know what you're doing now.
It's so funny when you sit there and think about an alumni from a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
It's a preschool program.
So whether it's alumni or parents of alumni.
Right.
Just a place to reconnect.
What would be the most surprising thing that most people don't know about Weems Creek?
That's an interesting question. The most surprising thing, maybe all of the options we have. We've got our traditional program, as I said, in the morning, the half-day programs that are set. But we have worked very hard over the last couple of years to enrich the program with different options. But because they're options, it's, I want to take advantage of it, or no, this isn't going to work for me. And so it's very fluid and flexible.
And I guess the other thing, I think it's probably a stupid question, but because this hasn't really changed too much in all the time that I've been. But there's no plans for expansion or anything like that. It's just getting better. I guess
it is. We are growing, and that's an exciting thing. As I learn about the school, in its heyday, there were upwards of 100 students enrolled in Weems. Not all at once, obviously,
sure,
but in different capacities. And it's exciting to think that we are moving in that direction again. We have 3 morning programs right now, and next year the demand is increasing, and we will be offering an afternoon Monday, Wednesday, Friday class as well, with people already signing up and enrolling for that. So I do anticipate that we will, over the next couple of years, grow and start having morning and afternoon classes once again. Could we ever build a 3rd classroom down the road? I'd love to. If you want to know the truth, I would love to do that. I feel like we have 2 classrooms. If we had 1 more, we would just have a little bit more flexibility in the options that we offer.
That makes sense.
Without changing the small, kind of intimate dynamic too much that is Weems.
I know you said that it was just a conversation through your brother's children meeting Maggie. Did you ever picture yourself owning a preschool, or at what point? You've got 20 years worth of education background in you. Was this ever on a radar at some point?
No, it really wasn't. I was the director of an international style school in Panama for many years, and we served 3-year-olds through 12th grade. And I just sort of reached my point there where I thought, you know what, I need a break. I was starting to feel like I was running a business and getting farther away from the educational aspect, and I was just missing that. So when I decided to resign, I was looking to create a business that allowed me to do some consulting and do some coaching and get a little bit more hands-on with families and education again. And kind of in the midst of all of that is when Greg and I started having this conversation about Weems. And I resisted the idea at first because I was like, I've been there, done that. I don't really want to run a school again. But he knows me well. And he's, just meet her and so forth. And he clearly loved the school. He and Sabrina, his wife, have loved the school so much. Their 4th child will start at Weems next year. And so then when I met Maggie, she is charming. She sold the school in her mother's vision and legacy very well. And like I said, it was coming and spending a day here. Like there was no There was no turning back at that point.
Right. That's funny. I remember, guys, as I look around the room, all the different memories that sort of come floating back. I remember the end of the year party at Missy Tate's house out on, I guess it's Horseshoe Point. Is that what it's called? Whatever. West Annapolis. It's that plot of land, flat plot of land off of the bridge. The house isn't even there any longer, but it was, the end of the year picnic. It was just, it was so much fun with all the families that would get together, and it was. You hit it right on the place. It's a very special place. What's your favorite thing about coming to work in the morning?
Driving up and seeing this little idyllic red brick building and knowing that it's full of little people, inside. I absolutely love that. And the second thing is the playground. The playground, bar none, is my favorite part of this school.
All right, do you ever have a bad night? You go home, you're just like, want to kick the cat and say, okay, I'm going down to the school and swing? Or get on the jungle gym or something?
I am known to swing on the swings. That's one of my favorite things to do is swing on the swings, yeah.
You can do that. I remember I was on the board at St. Anne's one time when my kids were there, and there was a heated board meeting and whatnot, and I turned around, I made a motion that we go outside to the playground and swing. And they looked at me like I was on some kind of drugs. And my friend Robert, who was on the board next to me, he says, I'll second that. And now they had to vote on it. And we went out and we swang, and it was, swung.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fresh air, it cleared the mind, and
everybody came back in a little bit later, didn't you?
And you turn around, and sometimes it's not a bad thing to go back to being a kindergartner. I wouldn't think it's life is a lot simpler of a time, and a few less worries. And I think it probably does people good to be able to do that occasionally, if you can, to a point, and kick back a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that, it's got to be, it's a real heady job that you've got. I mean, you've got parents that are entrusting you with the very basis of what at least is 12 more years of education for their kids. And I say entrusting you, but I mean, that's you as well as the teachers that are here and everybody that's in this little red brick building. Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty tall order. And for Weems Creek to have been doing this for 45 years is pretty impressive that it continue to do it time and time and time again. It's well done. I mean, for everybody. You've been here, 2 years now? It'll
be 2 years at the end of February, yes.
Okay, so we're coming up on it.
Yes, we are.
Ever have bad days when you just don't want to come in?
No, I love it here.
How loud does it get in here sometimes?
Awfully loud. Especially downstairs when the kids are up here dancing and it sounds like maybe there's a herd of elephants up here. Yeah, it's a
You don't ever give the kids chocolate bars and send them off to their parents, do you?
Well, there was an ice cream party today.
I'll tell you, if anybody has any children from age 2 through 5 or so, not yet in first grade, obviously. It's 2s through it. We are classic preschool now, so 2, 3, 4-year-olds, and they turn 5 and then go to kindergarten. Right. This is a very small school. This is a very, I would say, one-on-one type thing, but boy, it's a real hands-on experience for the kids. One thing that I can see here today that's the same as it was 20 years ago is that the love that just sort of floats around in this room. I mean, you can tell between the teachers and the kids enjoy coming here. There's the squeals and the laughter and everything else, which really was what makes the 4 walls that are in this classroom that we're sitting here. What is the best way to learn more about Weems Creek? I mean, obviously, what your website is Weems Creek?
WeemsCreekNurserySchool.com. We have a lot of information about the programs on our website. We are also on Facebook at WeemsCreekNurserySchool.com and Instagram. But really, the best thing to do is to call and come in for a tour. That's our favorite way to communicate with people is we offer tours any day of the week because we really like parents to come in and see a class in action and to actually bring your child with you so they get a feel for what it would be like. And frequently, kids will come on tours and just sort of mold themselves into the class, and that's great.
Are dragging them out the front door, get back in the car, we've got to leave.
Sometimes that happens. But, it's a nice way for parents to see how their children respond, too. And that brings a lot of peace of mind if your child leaves and was like, oh, I liked it there. I had fun.
It was fun, and I do think that is the best way to look at any school. It doesn't matter whether you're looking at a preschool or a elementary school or a high school or a college.
Or a college, absolutely.
You've got to get out there. You've got to look at it and see, because Weems Creek is a very, very special place. You've been fortunate enough to be able to take control of a very special tradition, and I congratulate you on the work that you've done over the last 2 years, and I look forward to hearing what comes on in the next few years with Weems Creek, and churning out alumni group after alumni group. It's just a fantastic opportunity for any young learner, and I think that if you're listening, you have kids that are of that age, or you're thinking about getting kids. I mean, and as we all know, education is a little bit competitive now at this point.
Yeah, it is.
If you are thinking about having a child, you want to make sure that just get it on your radar and check it out. Kirkley Road. I mean, if you come out Ridgely Avenue out of West Annapolis, head toward like Bestgate Road and St. Mary's, just after the bridge. It's, I think, the first left,
it's
and
the
it's
first
almost
left
like
just after the bridge. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a U-turn, almost turned down.
Yeah, it is true.
You go down through some woods and you wonder whether you've got the wrong way, and then all of a sudden you get down to the very end, and there's this red brick building with a circular drive. Mm-hmm. And I will say there's a bench out in front of that circular drive that my child's class donated way back when, that we were very proud to do as our class gift to Weems Creek. And Mary Ostrowski, I want to thank you very much for your time today. Congratulations for carrying on such a great tradition in the area, and best of luck.
Well, thank you very much. I was fortunate and blessed that, the foundation was already very strongly laid for me to come into, and it's been my pleasure and my joy to keep it going. So thank you very much for having me and highlighting this special little place.
Thanks for listening to this special podcast for Ion Annapolis. Please be sure to visit ionannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinions. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Ion Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you your local news direct to your phone or tablet every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Subscribe on iTunes or Google Play.